bring to this space today someone who is really distinguished and actually quite special to me because of the work that she does across the country of Nigeria, where she is currently sitting right now. And Barrister Oluyemi Adetiba-Orija is an attorney in Nigeria, which is why she's barrister. But she's really, really a remarkable one, and because of everything that you'll be hearing from her today and from me. Oluyemi Adetiba-Orija obtained her bachelor's degree in law from Ekiti State University in 2012. That's a university in Nigeria, and then obtained a diploma in law also from the Nigerian School of Law. She is also a graduate of the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria. That's a certification that she obtained in 2015. And more recently, Ms. Oluyemi Adetiba-Orija obtained her master's degree in law from the prestigious University of South Wales in the United Kingdom. Congratulations on that. And later you're going to explain to me how you found the time to do that. Prior to becoming what she now is, which I'm going to be explaining later, she worked as an associate in 4 law firms in Nigeria, and before establishing her own private legal practice, known as the Headfort Chambers, in 2015. I believe it was in 2018 that Ms. Orija added corporate social responsibility unit to her law chambers. And in March of 2019, she began to do what she does now. She established the Headfort Foundation, which is an NGO that works to have wrongfully incarcerated prisoners released. Her goal is to decongest Nigeria's prisons, and she is doing that by focusing on those that have been unlawfully imprisoned, advocating for their release, and actually really succeeding greatly in getting a lot of people released. Ms. Adetiba-Orija, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me again. And it's always a pleasure coming here and talking and seeing the improvement we've had from the last conversation we had. So thank you for having me once again.
Thank you. So how does it feel to be such a big star? And that's where I want to start. In 2021, I cannot tell you how delighted I was when I was reading the news and realized that BBC had just named you as the top 100 women for 2021. The BBC's top 100 women. So how did that feel for you, and how does it feel now?
Okay, so well, it was too, like I had a dual feeling around it. It was great. Realizing that such an organization actually see what we do and look at the importance of what we do in the society and in our community, then recognizing us, because I do not take it as I'm using us because it's not just me. Yeah, it's my name you find there, but I think it's a whole lot of people's work, right? So it's amazing. And right now, and I would say that recognition brought us a lot of good goodies to myself and to the organization, put us out there to the world. People were able to see that such an organization exists. And of course, that's, people, I'd say people of a child or a son of nobody could actually be doing something so huge and impacting more people in the community. And that has also inspired more people in Nigeria and outside of Nigeria to also take action in their own various communities in the things, the problems they could identify and also take action. So it was a good one.
Yeah, you'll recall when we first began to interact. That was years ago. I had read about you in a story that Al Jazeera wrote about you and the attorneys that were working with you. And one of the things that I've always been fascinated by and really impressed by is the fact that you always talk about us. You don't take the credit, actually. You share it and you really just say it's us, it's all of us, it's our work. And I've never heard you say, this is what I am doing, I. Where does that come from? That's a very impressive value.
I take it back home because I'm from a large family. My dad has 10 kids and from polygamous family as well. And I'd say aside my family, I've never seen a peaceful polygamous family in Nigeria. So we grew up together peacefully in the same compound. And my dad, we would always refer to him as the Senate president, and all of us the Senate members of the House, And so he would identify, like he tells us, your failure is our failure, your success is our success. So wherever you are, be the right and the good ambassador of the Adetibas family. And so that's has always struck with me, that if I'm working, I'm not working alone, I'm working with a team. And I also try to sell that vision to my team, that this is us. If you fail, we fail. It's a team thing. And so everyone needs to be proactive in their own respective duties. And if you see somebody lagging behind, you have to lend a helping hand. So, and that's how we've been. And that's how I believe strongly in that, having a lot to do with the success we've had in the past 5 years.
I am actually quite impressed. In fact, just hearing you bring your father into the interview, and I can just picture in my head a photograph that I had seen of you and your father at your wedding years ago, and and I know how highly you spoke of your dad. Well, he's been gone now for a few years, and that must really be painful, right? Knowing how close you were to him.
Yeah. Yeah, it's painful. And I think that I've not particularly mourned him. I believe I'm in denial sometimes. And, when he died, I was working. Like I left him and traveled and came back. I traveled to Abuja. I had the collaboration with the National Human Rights Commission at the time. So I traveled when I got back, I was to go see him the next day, then he passed on. So I was working, I was just working to tell myself it's not true. And I think that is so. Just once in a while I break down when I remember, except especially when I have accomplished something and I feel like I want to share it with him. Or sometimes because he's a very intellectual person, and sometimes he's an historian, he likes history. He would tell me a lot about Nigeria, how Nigeria came to being and all of that. So sometimes if I'm arguing with my husband about something, political or history, I'll say, let me call that. And I forgot that he's dead, you know. So it's a painful one, really, because I had a very good relationship with him. And it's hard to say that he's gone, but I think the reality is that he's gone. But I mean, I'm not sure I can really get over it. I'm not too sure I
Yeah.
can.
From one African to another, I can assure you that he's watching you and is proud of you, because in Africa, we believe that our parents are never completely gone. They still watch over us and intercede with God on our behalf. And so
Absolutely.
when you were obtaining your master's degree at the University of South Wales, with all of the effort that you put into it and being on that stage in the UK, accepting your degree, an African will say he was watching you and smiling and thanking God on your behalf. But back to work. When you established the Headfort chambers, your law chambers in 2017, your focus was on employment law and family law and succession, and I think also really commercial law, commercial and corporate law. That's what you were focused on.
Yeah.
At what point did you decide that it was important to pivot? No, well, maybe not really to pivot. Maybe that's not a decision that you made. But at what point did you begin to say to yourself, someone needs to attend to the plight of those that are wrongfully incarcerated in Nigeria, and our responsibility should be mine?
Okay, so I didn't pivot, and I'd say that my reason for studying law in the first place was actually to help the people who couldn't afford legal service, because I've had experience at age 12 in my hometown back in Ekiti State. So I understand what it was not to need a lawyer and not to be able to afford one. So in the year 2000, back at home, you know, I'm from a little village, Omo Ekiti. Right there was an incident that happened. There was a murder case, and the police arrested a lot of people. Breadwinners of families, about 20 to 30 of them were actually arrested. And they were arrested because they had farms close to the scene of crime. So in the course of investigation, police arrested, like it was a mass arrest, and the entire village, I mean, it was a little village. Imagine 20 persons being arrested in a small village. So it was a whole completely, a very bad experience for everyone, because you're connected to these people one way or the other. And then you begin to ask, what is going on? I mean, I was little, I was about 12 years, and I was asking, what's actually going on? Why are these people not coming back? They were detained at the police station. They were arraigned in court, even though people had the defense of alibi that they were not on their farms on those days, but regardless, they were still being detained. But I really didn't understand the legal aspect of things, but I was just wondering, why didn't they come back home? Then my dad would explain to me that they needed a lawyer. Then I'm saying, okay, why not get one? Then there wasn't money. And if they had to get a lawyer, they would have to go to Ado Ekiti, which is the state capital, you know, to get one. And it was quite expensive. So the matter dragged on. Children of these men suffered. Some people dropped out of school. It was just a whole lot of things. So I had an understanding. Then I told my dad, I want to be a lawyer, right? So that if this kind of things happen in my community again, maybe we'll have a lawyer to represent people. And my dad wasn't a lawyer, but he was quite educated. And he would administer on minor cases, disputes in my community. So I had seen him kind of administering justice, I'd say, in the community. So all of these things inspired me to become a lawyer in the first place. So that's instinct of helping, that passion for helping had always been there. But eventually I got admission to school to study law. And then all I began to hear about law practice was that it wasn't lucrative. There wasn't money there, you know. I was like, really? And that was where I was beginning to think, okay, so if I want to make money in this profession, what do I need to be doing, right? So then people said, corporates, go into the corporate world, be like a company secretary of one international company, and, you know, so all of that was playing in my head. Okay, so I have to make money first and come back to my passion, you know. And that led me to taking the professional course, Institute of Chartered, to go into the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators in Nigeria. I did that, and I practiced with some law firms. I mean, I never thought all of these things were really, like, I was completely confused. Would I practice law? Then I understood if I would go to the corporate world, it means I will leave the courtroom. I will be in one company signing deals. I'm like, okay. So while all of that was playing at in 2013-14, when I was to serve my compulsory youth service in Nigeria, I was attached to a law firm in Akwa Ibom State. And that was where I got clarity. Now, this law firm was a general law practice law firm. So we would do corporate law practice. At the same time, we would do criminal matters. We would, it was just general practice of law. And then it exposed me to the money that was in law practice, that you could be in law practice and still make money. It all depends on how you position yourself and sell yourself. So I said, okay, so I could practice law, make money at the same time, help people, So I got clarity there. Coming back to Lagos, I worked with other law firms and, it's helped me like navigate where I was really going. And then I started Headfort Chambers because we needed to at least have something to help people. It does not necessarily have to be millions of dollars and, so I started the law practice. It was the platform that I had. And the intention was actually not to start a non-profit organization. The intention was to have it like a CSR project of the law firm. And that was what we were doing. So we were practicing our law, employment law, succession, and all of that, while we were doing that as a CSR project. But the CSR project became bigger than I could handle. People were like, more people wanted help, more people wanted us to take on their cases, but we didn't have the capacity in terms of human power to do that. And I would share all of these things on social media. Then I saw people reaching out. So a lot of people actually wanted to render this service, but they don't have the right platforms to go. Some people don't have the skill, but they understand that problem and they want to support with their monies, all right? So when I share a success story of somebody that we have just released from prison, people will be like, I want to volunteer to you. And I'm like, I run a for-profit organization. How do you volunteer? People say, I want to donate to you. How do I give you my law firm's account to put money in? As they don't, it was just not making sense. Then that was where the idea to register it as a non-profit then came, so we could have more people. And thankfully it worked, because today we have over 500 volunteers across Nigeria, and 60% of these people are lawyers who are willing to take on cases for free under this platform. So that was how the journey came by.
Whenever I speak with you, it's really dumbfounding. And when I talk about meeting and interacting with people that will help us get introspective looks at ourselves so that we can actually see what we are doing and what difference we can make in the world that we are living. It is people like you who make that possible. And I'm grateful for the work that you do. And I just know that when you began, there weren't many of you who started. It was just you, and and now you have over 20 people on staff, in addition to the over 500 volunteers that you have across the country. Your staff in your office in Lagos right now has over 20 people. Everybody working every minute of the day and beyond. I know that even on weekends, people are working, you are working. And you know that I have actually asked you, do you ever take a vacation? But you can answer that.
Vacation, well, categorically or technically, I would say no, because even when I'm away from work, I am working. So like, to tell myself I'm leaving work for a week or 2 weeks without necessarily opening my laptop, is not possible. And not only that I don't take vacation, the fact that you get to work around the clock. And sometimes, my husband is in the financial world, so he really doesn't understand majority of why I need to be working for myself and be working all the time. He's just not able to resonate with it. He just cannot comprehend that you should come home sometimes and not open your laptop for days because you have people working for you. But it really doesn't work that way because yeah, while my team are quite competent and they know what they're doing, sometimes that nudge is there. And the way we function is, before we put a content out in my organization, there is a WhatsApp where everybody needs to contribute their quota before that thing gets out of, our purview. So you can't just take your eyes away. You need to you need to be right there, show your support. And the moment they know that even the ED is up till 2 a.m., why would I not want to contribute? Not only because of that, but because they're also passionate about the cause. And this content probably needs to be out by 6 a.m. in the morning, So it's all around work and social life, too bad.
Right. So give me an idea. There are two things that I'm wondering about. One is, how is it that people get arrested and incarcerated wrongfully? And how is it that a country's leaders can go to sleep at night knowing that there are that many people that are wrongfully incarcerated?
Well, unfortunately, is the reality of Nigeria currently. And there are a lot of things involved. I'd say one of it is corruption. Corruption from the angle of the law enforcement agents. So I was somewhere someday and law enforcement agents were, throwing tantrums at themselves in their office. And the man said, it's not possible for a policeman to go hungry. That because before you walk two pillars in Nigeria, the electric poles, before you walk two electric poles, you must have seen somebody that you can arrest. So arrest automatically translates to money, which shouldn't be. The law is you arrest somebody at the suspicion of crime. And when you suspect that this person has committed a crime, you need to really investigate to ascertain that this person has actually committed the crime before detaining them. And when you detain them, and this offense is a bailable one, you should release this person on bail for free. But unfortunately, that's not the situation. People get arrested, and I'll give you a very recent one. So just a few days ago, but on Friday, Friday last week, my team were at the Female Correctional Center in Kirikiri, Lagos State, because on the 28th of February, we were there in that same prison facility to conduct a normal monthly visitation to prisons. We'll go there, take cases of those who are not being represented by lawyers. And then on that 28th, they met a young lady who was in prison for a few weeks. She was already convicted of being, constituting nuisance in the public. That was what she was convicted of. And she was to pay 30,000 naira as fine or be in prison for 3 months. Now, she's a mother of 3, and the youngest being 1-year-old. Then our team were like, what did you do? When she narrated her story, this young lady left her home around 9:30 p.m. at night because she wanted to buy drugs for her 1-year-old child who had temperature. She left the child at home with her mom. And, on the street, she was arrested by military officers because they said, why are you working at 9:30? I mean, there was no curfew. There's no reason why anyone shouldn't move around at 9:30 p.m. So she was arrested amongst other ladies on the suspicion that they were prostitutes. In fact, the way she was dressed, you ask yourself, how would a prostitute dress this way? But she was arrested with other ladies. They were harassed. She alleged that they were sexually harassed. Some people had to allow the officers sleep with them so they could get their freedom. Some people who could parted with money and got their freedom. But if you cannot give your body and give your money, then you have to go to court the next morning. So she was charged to court. In all of this, the families were looking for this young woman. They didn't know where she was. She left the home to buy drugs. So at the court, some policemen also advised them, because these are illiterate, also advised them to plead guilty to the charge. She pleaded guilty and immediately was sentenced to 3 months in prison or paid a fine of 30,000 naira. 30,000 naira she doesn't have. Those who could pay 30K and left from the court. But in her own case, she had to go to the prison because she didn't have 30,000 naira. Until Friday last week, when we paid that money and allowed her get her freedom. Now, this is the challenge of many Nigerians. Like you waking up in the morning, going to work, there is no guarantee that you're coming back home that day, especially if you're the male gender. You know, if you're the male gender, you try to dress in a way that is seemingly not conforming with the cultural, way of dressing here, then it's like you're being suspected to be a criminal. So you don't necessarily have to commit any crime. And I said there is a very thin line between being a free man and being in prison in Nigeria. Very thin line. It's easy to walk into the prison, but working out is tough. So that is the reality. And unfortunately, anybody can be a victim, regardless of your academic or your educational background. Anybody can be a victim at any time.
Yeah, let me show something that really illustrates the impact that you're making in Nigeria. And can you explain some of this to us?
Yeah. Okay. So this is on our website, and you'd see 600 plus awaiting trial inmates released. This means that awaiting trial inmates, people who were in prison but never convicted of crime, as a matter of fact, trial was not even conducted. They were in prison, ranging from 1 year to 13 years in prison awaiting trial. And we have rendered to them free legal aid and secured their freedom. Then the 12,000 is people who had benefited from our legal aid service. So legal aid service does not necessarily mean you have to be in prison. So these are a combination of people who were in prison and people who were not in prison at all, but needed one legal advice or the other. Sometimes there are civil matters in court. Sometimes there were cases at the police station level. Sometimes they are at mediation centers. So these are the numbers of people we have rendered that help to. And the correctional facilities, 12 engaged. So in Lagos State alone, we have 5 correctional facilities, prisons in Lagos State, which we have had engagement with, go in there, sensitize the inmates, taking briefs of those who do not have lawyers and represented them, secured their freedom. Outside of Lagos, we've been to prisons in Ogun State, prisons in Ekiti State, in Delta State, Ibadan, and also Port Harcourt. So combination of all of this is 12. Then we do not stop at that. We'll also do a lot of advocacy around human rights, because at the end of the day, these people were victims of human rights abuse at some form, in some way or the other. It could be right to freedom of expression. It could be freedom of movement, just like the story I just shared. And we do that through media, in collaboration with different media outfits. We would do a lot of programs. There's a program where we have to translate the Chapter 4 of the Nigerian Constitution and use the handbook in sensitizing Nigerians about their human rights. We will do that physically. We will do that via social media and traditional media. And the number of media that we have engaged with on this is 100 plus. Then we have the people that have been reached. So throughout these media engagement, some of them are local programs where we know that indigenes of those communities engage with, they call the radio station asking questions. So the number of reach that we have had on advocacy is over 2 million. And then law enforcement and agencies. So because law enforcement agencies are the root cause of the problem that we're solving. And as a matter of fact, law enforcement agents need to be reorientated and trained and retrained on the ethics of doing their work in order for them not to commit crime while trying to curb crime. And so we have a collaboration with the Nigerian police to train some of the police officers and also other law enforcement agents. And those are the numbers that we have reached on that as well.
Incredible. How can we support your work?
Yeah, supporting, I think I mentioned when we were talking the other time, I said, the work is not just for an organization. It's huge. It's a very huge one. And it's really hit deep into the foundation of our existence as Nigerians. And so Headfort cannot do it all alone. We need the support of people. And how you can support is either through your skill, through your resources. Skill in the sense that you are good at anything. You don't necessarily have to be a lawyer. Sometimes it's just sharing a content that we need a lot of people to be aware of. We do a lot of content around educating people because people really don't know until they get into that situation. A lot of people have never been to court in their lives, right? And that's why somebody will advise you to plead guilty to a charge you knew nothing about, and you're going to plead guilty. We've seen situations where police write statements and tell people to sign without understanding the content of that statement. And that statement is the foundation of them being in prison for years. So these are the kind of content we push out to educate Nigerians on what should be done and what not to be done. So share those content is a way of supporting our work. Donating to the cause, because for us to do anything at all, it requires money. And the economy is not even smiling right now. So we need a lot of money to continue to do what we do, to reach more people and help more people. As I speak with you, combination of the 5 prisons in Lagos State, the capacity is 4,000 plus, but it is accommodating over 9,000. So that is more than, I'm not good in mathematics, but that's about 150% congestion. So it's that
Wait,
way.
can you say that again? These prisons have a capacity for 4,000, and there are over 9,000 people housed there.
Yeah. So that tells us that it's a huge problem because the congestion issue translates to other issues like welfare, like the prison itself is meant to rehabilitate and reform, but that job is not being done because of the congestion that we have. So you now have
so just imagine if there is an illness that's contagious. It spreads.
And then the level of recidivism.
Yes.
Yeah. The level of recidivism is very high. I mean, you can imagine someone was in prison for doing absolutely nothing. Then maybe he spent 5 months over there. He's back, and life is even worse than before he left. The probability of committing crime, and by the way, he must have mixed with real criminals right there. Because there's no demarcation of any sort. Everybody's jam-packed together. Somebody who robbed a bank has been in the same prison with somebody who stole a loaf of bread. The probability of somebody influencing the other negatively is kind of sure. So this guy comes back out and then he becomes a criminal. And especially when the world is not even welcoming. So so the prison is not doing, it's not even the fact that it cannot do the work it ought to do by establishment. And that's why we need the support of a whole lot of people. It's everybody's job, because if nobody is doing this, we are all going to be victim of the problem at the long run. Driving that big car on the road is not a guarantee that somebody will not break it in traffic. If they are hungry, if they are angry at the system, because someone who was innocent of a crime and jailed for 13 years is angry at Nigeria. is angry at everybody, and anybody can be his victim, you know. So it's in circle if nobody is working. And that's why we need everybody to support Headfort Foundation in doing this job, collaborate with Headfort Foundation doing this job. If you have an organization, you can adopt some of the things we do as your CSR project and sponsor it over a period of time as much as you can, and also impact lives, rehabilitate people. I mean, it's a whole lot of work.
You know, I know that because I was invited to your gala. It's on March 19th, which is next week, right? And so please tell us a bit about that.
Yes, so coincidentally, that day, Headfort Foundation was established formally on the 19th of March, 2019. And on the 19th of March this year will be exactly 5 years that we've existed. And we want to use that avenue to re-strategize and also, you know, bring to the fore what we have done, encourage ourselves, and also challenge ourselves to do better going forward. So while at that, would also want stakeholders to understand from our own experience working in this system, what the challenges has been, and our own recommendation to the government to improve on the Nigerian justice system. It will also be a platform where we tell the roadmap for the next 5 years, what Headfort Foundation is embarking on, and also, you know, asking for collaboration from everyone to help us get to where we want to get to. Because Headfort Foundation would now, while the legal aid work would continue, we want to take it bigger than that, and then look at how we can actually strengthen Nigerian justice system. And by that way, looking at policy reform, system change, that way we can impact more people and help our younger generation so they don't continue to be victim of what we are experiencing. And that's the way we are going. Of course, we are not going to neglect legal aid, because I strongly believe in people, and I believe that it is not, you know, I believe strongly in why we are trying to help the system. People who are already trapped in there should not be neglected. So we have to really be paying attention to them. So that is why we will not neglect the legal aid work and continue to impact one person at a time. But much more than that, looking at system change, looking at stronger institution for Nigeria, and especially in the Nigerian justice space, so that our younger generation would meet something better than we are experiencing.
Right. You know, I am not going to be attending in person your gala, but I will be represented there. And it is my hope to be able to get as much support as I can from here for your organization, because you do such great work. It is actually a fact that's not arguable that all over the world, including the United States, there are people that are wrongfully incarcerated. But it's not every day that one gets to meet someone like you, who is doing all of this great work to decongest prisons, to ensure that people are not, people do not rot in jail who are not supposed to be there. So the fight against injustice is one that we should all encourage, and I completely encourage and support you. And one day I will meet Oluwaseun, and I will also personally thank him for supporting you all through the years. That is your husband, right? And thank him. But I know that I have said to you multiple times, just, you know, how does he cope with the fact that you are constantly working, even in the middle of the night when everybody, even the Nigerian president, is asleep, you're working, which is really, really, really impressive. But I give you great credit. I thank you for spending this time with us today. And just have some final parting words, I'd like you to just tell young people, not just women, but tell young people. It's just fascinating. You know, I remember you were just these young female lawyers breaking these grounds in Nigeria and really being spoken about around the world in the media. And so it's not an accident that BBC named you now among the 100 top women for 2021. So what would you say, final words to any up and coming young women, not just in Nigeria, but anywhere, as far as helping them to see what social injustice is and what the fight is that we must all engage in?
Yeah, so I'd say, you would identify that problem, you would complain about it, but it's not enough to complain. It's very important to take action. And you would not wait for the world to take action. You can take that action in that your little corner. Help that next person. Sometimes it's just to share information. It can be the simplest things you can think of that somebody is lacking. So to create a better world for everyone, an equitable, and a just world for everyone, it starts with us. It starts in that your little community. And I would say, regardless of the resources you have, you can take action, regardless of how small it is. Sometimes you think you don't have, and you're waiting for when you have all the resources in the world. It will never come. You just have to take action with what you have at where you are at time. That's all I'll say.
Thank you very much. And I wish you a really great event on the 19th. And I know that I'll be part of that because you're going to be live streaming part of it, the keynote at least. And so I look forward to that.
All right.
So have an amazing day.
Yeah,
and
thank you so much.
I keep saying that the next time I visit Nigeria, I'll stop by at your office to meet everyone, but it hasn't happened.
It will happen.
Yes, hopefully the very next time I come, I'll make sure I do that.
Thank you so much.
So have a great day. Say hello to everyone in Nigeria.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.